Hello and welcome fellow motorsports fans. It's been a brilliant few days of racing and I'm here to tell you all about it. Today's highlights include the 6 hours of Monza in WEC, DTM and an F1 weekend with all its support categories, so let's not waste any more time. Off we go! WEC races rarely disappoint and the 6 hours of Monza was no exception. The flow of the race was disrupted by two awkwardly timed safety cars though, which in particular seemed to massively impact the results in GTE and LMP2. Hypercar had a lot of manufacturers fighting up front, with Toyota and Ferrari repeating the Le Mans duel, while Peugeot, as I predicted, kept up its good form as well. Sebastian Buemi in the number 8 Toyota decided to go full iRacing in the opening stages, spinning the 51 Ferrari in turn 1 before causing the first safety car by wrecking the D-station Aston Martin a bit later on. The crew still got to P4 despite the 1 minute penalty, allowing them to keep their championship lead. Sister Car 7 eventually clinched the win, although some were aided by Ferrari with an odd strategy choice for the 50 during the final stop. Peugeot 93 stayed in the mix the whole time as well, but ultimately lacked the raw pace to challenge for the win. Sister Car 94 unfortunately had to retire with mechanical issues. Porsche wasn't looking particularly strong all around, with the number 5 putting in the strongest bid for the factory squad. The debuting Proton Porsche 99 did really well for the first time out, before having to retire with mechanical failure as well. Cadillac, despite the seemingly favourable BOP, was struggling to take the fight to anyone and actually finished behind the Glickenhaus on pace. The championship is now back to Toyota 1-2, although certainly aided by Buemi spinning out their main rivals, Ferrari 51. LMP2 provided fantastic battles all around, with most cars in podium contention until the very end, although the end results seemingly got influenced quite a bit by the second safety car in particular. Jota 28 takes the win after looking like the quickest package all around all race long. Silver, Heinemeier Hansen notably put in the kind of stint you'd expect from Dorian Parr or Sean Galal and kept the car ahead of quicker drivers for a long time. Alpine number 36 somehow sneaked their way up to P2 on seemingly a mostly strategic basis, while championship contending WRT number 41 at Louis Delatraz marched to the podium in the closing stages. Sister Car 31 had to retire with an engine failure while competing for the win. Other championship contender, Inter-Europol competition number 34, had a good run as well, providing lots of good battles throughout the day, but ultimately had to settle for P5. Prema was quite disappointing all around, unfortunately. GTE easily had the most surprising result of the day, with the Dempsey Proton Porsche 77 taking the win ahead of the Iron Lynx number 60, which is normally nowhere. The real story, though, has to be the ongoing on-track battle between the 33 Corvette and the 85 Iron Dames, even if it wasn't for the win this time around. The Corvette won that particular duel by bringing it home in P4 and thus secured the championship title with another 2 rounds to go. Fantastic job by an amazing team. F1 Academy, the new all-female F4 series, had its 5th round at Monza as well, with Marta Garcia, Lena Bühler and Bianca Bassamante taking a win each. Garcia in particular could thus increase her championship lead, as nearest rival Hamda Al-Kubaisi had a pretty forgettable weekend, only scoring a single time across the 3 races. Germany's only street circuit, the Norrisring, saw the 3rd round of DTM this weekend and yet again produced 2 new winners for a total of 6 in 6 races. The Schubert Motorsports BMWs looked particularly strong, securing a 1-2 finish in race 1, with defending champion Sheldon van der Linde ahead of René Rast. My boy Thomas Preining unfortunately got outplayed by his own team as the Mentai crew messed up his pit stop, costing him crucial points and the podium position, which subsequently went to teammate Dennis Olsen. This unfortunately also required Kelvin van der Linde's Audi to give up with just a few minutes to go. Preining had his redemption in race 2, overtaking both Schubert BMWs after the pit stop to finally take his first win, although the winning move on René Rast took quite a bit of elbow usage. The BMW team still takes the other 2 podium spots, with Sheldon van der Linde and his additional success ballast understandably behind teammate Rast this time around. Thomas Preining increases his championship lead a little bit, while Sheldon van der Linde rockets up to P2 in the standings to properly begin his title defense. Last round's winner Riccardo Feller had a terrible weekend, as did most Audis really, and thus failed to make big points gains. Similar story for the likes of Maro Engel and Frank Pereira. On the manufacturer side, BMW goes from 5th to 2nd, while Porsche increases its lead significantly. Ferrari, the only brand yet to win a race, had some of the worst BOP we've had in recent times, relegating them to full-on backmarker duty for the weekend. ADAC GT Masters had its second round as well, with the Fitcher and Menzel-driven Huber Motorsport Porsche 25 taking home a win and a P2, while the Landgraf AMG 48 secured first place in race 1. In the biggest surprise result of the week, Max Verstappen won his 6th race and oh, hang on, that's not a surprise, wrong line. In the biggest surprise result of the week, McLaren was actually able to compete for a double podium on raw pace, ultimately taking home P2 and P4 in what is easily their best result of the year. And for rookie Piastri, thus his best result ever. Hamilton completes the podium after a late safety car put Piastri on a suboptimal strategy. Perez shit the bed in quali once again and only managed to recover to P6. Alonso and Aston Martin are not quite able to match Mercedes anymore, and Alpine had the biggest disaster of the grid with a double retirement. Ferrari managed to strategize their way out of solid finishing positions, allowing Albon in the Williams to finish ahead of both Leclerc and Sainz. The F2 sprint race was characterized by wet weather conditions, resulting in a safety car start. Championship leader Frederic Vesti controlled the race well from start to finish. Ferrari Junior Ollie Behrman had a brilliant start in front of his home crowd, but did eventually spin out from P2. This seemingly ruined his tyres, as he was fully on the defense afterwards, before ultimately dropping to P6. Red Bull Junior Hadjar did hold on to P2 for a long time, before tumbling down the order massively in the closing stages. This allowed Pourchaire and Duhan to take the final positions. Alpine Junior Victor Martins dominated the feature race, even outdriving a 5-second penalty to take his maiden win ahead of the boy from Barbados. Theo Pourchaire did step onto the podium once again, but still looked a bit pale compared to his dominant art teammate. Crucially, championship leader Vesti got wrecked on a restart, so still big points for Pourchaire, bringing the gap down to just 6 points. F3 produced an incredibly chaotic sprint race in changing conditions. The very unusual front row of Johnny Edgar and Sebastian Montoya didn't last very long, however, as Edgar was dropping big time in his MP, while Montoya got tagged and spun by Taylor Barnard. Many more twists and turns later, and Franco Colapinto took the top step ahead of Bortoleto and Christian Menzel, for whom this was his first time on an F3 podium. Definitely go watch that race, it had way too much going on for a video like this. The feature was pretty tried and dominated, although interestingly with championship leader Bortoleto as last of the trio. Oliver Goethe takes his first win by overtaking teammate Fornaroli on track. Pepe Marti completes the podium to continue his great season. Notably, Campos teammate Mansell scores high up yet again. Bortoleto's consistent performances comfortably keep him in the lead, as none of the close contenders got more points than him. Beganovic in particular had his weekend ruined by an engine failure in quali, meaning he was unable to score since he had to start from dead last both races. Prema teammate O'Sullivan also had a weekend to forget, with 0 points scored. The Porsche Supercup had a very messy start, as title contender Larry Tenforde managed to lock up into turn 2, taking out himself, pole sitter Boccolacci, and title rivals King and Boost in one clean move. The win then fell to Alexander Fach, controlling the race well after inheriting the lead to take his maiden victory in the category. 17-year-old guest driver Robert De Haan continues to impress whenever he steps into a Porsche Cup car, taking home P2. I really hope he finds himself in one of the more competitive Porsche series on a full-time basis next season. And now for our Around the World quickfire segment of the show. FRECA had its 5th round at Mugello, which sees one more win for title contenders Martino Stenson and Andrea Kimi Antonelli. The pair is only separated by 2 points, so expect more fire in the near future. Euro 4, a new Continental F4 spec series, has had its first round this week and essentially featured the core of the Italian F4 drivers with a few additions. Yugo Yugochukwu takes a pair of wins while James Wharton just about beat him in race 3. Kasper Stuka and Akshay Bora continue to bang out good performances for US racing as well. IMSA had their Canadian round this weekend. It feels super weird to have them in the quickfire round, with an Acura 1-2 in GP, led by the 60 Maisheng Racing entry ahead of the WRT number 10. The 25 BMW continues its good form from Watkins Glen to complete the podium. Riley Motorsports number 74 secures the LMP3 win in everybody's favourite dentist category. GTD Pro sees the performance Corvette would have wanted in Italy as well, as the 3 piloted by Antonio Garcia and Jordan Taylor takes the win ahead of fan favourite FUF Porsche number 9 and WeatherTech AMG number 79. Paul Miller Racing number 1 continues to prove why they are reigning champions in GTD, taking another win ahead of the Inception Racing McLaren number 70 and Team Korthoff AMG number 32. Aussie Supercars also raced this weekend, and the Erebus Motorsports boys continue their fantastic form, with Will Brown taking the first win and by extension the championship lead from his teammate Brody Kostecki. Triple Eight drivers Brock Feeney and Shane Van Gisbergen stay in touch, meaning that, with half the season left to go, anything is more than possible. Notable, Anton Di Pasquale, who has had a pretty forgettable season so far, managed his best result of the year by winning race 2 for Dick Johnson Racing. And last but not least, 14-year-old mega talent Freddie Slater wins the KZ2 portion of the European Karting Championship, securing the title in the process, while Albanese clinches the title in KZ ahead of Iglesias and Van Valstein. My driver of the week is Oscar Piastri. While it is a somewhat obvious pick to make, it does feel quite justified considering how many people still seem to doubt him a lot, despite his stellar junior career. Competing against the likes of Hamilton and Russell on the sharp end of the F1 grid, remaining flawless and only missing out on the podium due to an unfortunate safety car, should shut anyone up who still thought he wasn't quite up to the task. Next week's racing includes Formula E on the streets of Rome, the return of the European Le Mans Series at Paul Ricard, and another chance for Alex Palou to dick on everyone in IndyCar. I'm already looking forward to telling you all about it next week. Until then, take care and remember, racing is more than just F1.